It's me, Eleonora Mazzanti, Professors Wilde and Katrijn Maryns. I'm going to now share the screen and start our PowerPoint. So today, what we're going to talk about is we're going to introduce the project background and the aims. We will look at the project outcomes so far, and we will show you a demo of the EU-WEBPSI portal. The team here today, we're speaking from the University of Ghent, who is the coordinator of the project, and we are the team who manages the project here. Hello, yes?
Sorry to interrupt, but we're not seeing your presentation yet.
Oh, okay. That's, let me check again. All right, and then now it should show.
Yes. Excellent, thank you.
Okay. All right, great. So, as I was saying, today we will introduce the project background and the project aims. We'll look at the project outcomes so far, and then show you a demo of the EU-WEBPSI portal. I will now leave the floor to Katrijn Maryns, who will speak more about the project rationale and its background.
Yes, hello everyone. So I will tell you a bit more about, let's call it the philosophy behind the project, and how we, or on what basis we decided to develop the project as we did. And in fact, we started from two main observations that have been made in theory and academia, but also in practice. And the first one is that PSI, public service interpreting, is insufficiently regulated across the EU. Of course, some countries do have guidelines, certain levels of professionalization of PSI, but this is not a standard across the EU. And this in turn leads to unequal access to basic services. People with particular language needs do not always get the linguistic support they are entitled to. A second observation, or you can also call it a concern, is that there is a mismatch between supply and demand for certain languages. And this is definitely the case for the so-called languages of lesser diffusion. Interpreters for these languages are scarce, and newly arrived migrants and refugees are usually the people who need these languages. In other words, the needs are very high in contexts of asylum and refugees, and this is exactly what this project focuses on. Of course, these concerns are also shared by ENPSIT, because, in its mission itself, ENPSIT also has this objective of guaranteeing everybody's right to high-quality language support, and also introducing a European quality standard for public service interpreting. So in a way, our project aims and the mission of ENPSIT, they stick closely together, they coincide. So having said this, I'd like to move on with a short word about our acronym, EU-WEBPSI. EU obviously stands for the geographical scope of the project. Web has several possible interpretations. In the first place, it refers to the portal that we are developing, a portal that is some sort of a repository of knowledge about the standards, about training. But on the other hand, it's also a platform that allows collaboration between EU member states and the exchange of interpreters. And then PSI refers to the public service interpreting. So let's turn to the main objectives of the project then. Well, actually, these objectives involve standardization, building PSI capacity, and then sharing information. Standardization is about creating, as I've already said, the minimum standards of PSI competence, training, and accreditation to promote a higher level of professionalization of PSI. Building capacity is to increase the interpreting capacity for LLDs by training, but also empowering newcomers, people with a migration background, newly arrived migrants and refugees, to train them as interpreters. And in order to develop and test this approach, the project has a substantial case study component of public service interpreting in asylum and reception contexts. And Julie will tell you a bit more about this in a minute. And then third, sharing, the project is also there, and the portal is there to share information, as I've said, on the one hand, this repository of standards and training materials, but also as a platform to facilitate the interpreters exchange at EU level and to promote optimal use of interpreters in exactly those languages of lesser diffusion. And to realize all this, we obviously need a strong network. And we believe that this is one of the significant strengths of our project, is that we have this multi-stakeholder partnership, which contains both academic but also non-academic partners. And we all collaborate closely together from the very start of the project. And this guarantees that the tools that are developed stem from academic insights and practice-based knowledge and experience on the one hand, but they are also continuously tested against reality and practical concerns on the other. So who are these partners? We have the university partners, Ghent University. We do have experience in training of public service interpreters. Then we have the University of Surrey, who bring in their expertise on video-mediated interpreting, which is very important for the project. And then third, we have the University of Vienna, and they have a lot of expertise in the training of speakers of LLDs as interpreters, as public service interpreters, also specifically in settings of asylum and migration. Then we also have the PSI providers and the reception authorities, and you can consider them as tandems. They also work closely together, and we have 3 tandems in 3 countries that collaborate in the project. In France, we have ISM KU. They are the interpreter provider, so they are on the supply side of interpreting, and they collaborate with an NGO, Entraide Pierre Wilde, also situated obviously in France, and they are responsible for the reception of asylum seekers. In Greece, similar dynamics, but the difference here is that reception and provision of interpreters is covered by one and the same organization, which is Metadrasi, based in Athens. And then third, we have the Belgian partners, and there we have a collaboration between the agency of integration. They also train and certify interpreters. And on the other hand, FEDERSIL, which is a federal agency for the reception of asylum seekers. And of course, we won't forget ENPSIT, the European network, as you all know, for public service interpreting and translation, because they serve an important function in guaranteeing and ensuring the sustainability of the project after completion. And now I will pass the floor to Julie, who will tell you a bit more about the project outcomes.
Thank you, Katrijn. A few words on the project outcomes first. The project, as you can see, has 4 main outcomes, and 3 of them have been completed already. Those that are marked in green, so the baseline study was where we started from, the minimum standards, and then the training material. The last outcome at the top, the most important outcome, also the training of 60 interpreters of LLDs is still currently ongoing. Just a few words now, or some minor details on on each of these project outcomes. So the first step was to collect existing knowledge, existing training initiatives also on VMI, on LLD specifically, and of course public service interpreting itself. So the 3 key areas in our project. The baseline study was conducted in 2 phases. So we conducted a literature review study first, where we analyzed academic, practice-based literature, but also guidelines, codes of ethics, etc. And each time for each of these 3 domains or areas involved. And in addition to that, we also conducted focus groups discussions with 3 organizations, NGOs working with us, that have experience in language service provision, or language service provision and use in these specific contexts of asylum and refugee context, which are central also in this project. Next, second project outcome already also completed. So once based on this baseline, we then developed minimum standards of professional practice. The aim being that they are applicable at a European level, that a harmonized set of standards exists to refer to. And again, we focused and also subdivided these minimum standards on or according to each of the 3 areas: public service interpreting, video-mediated interpreting, and of course, languages of lesser diffusion, with, of course, a focus on our specific domain of asylum and reception. I will not go into further or too many details, because all of these documents, so the baseline study, the minimum standards, also the training material, which I will talk about, all these documents are available on the website and the project portal that Eleonora will explain and illustrate in a couple of minutes. So you can always go back to these documents online if you wish. Then the third project outcome, the training materials. These materials have been developed following a train-the-trainer approach. Why did we do that? Keeping in mind that the opportunities for training and qualification for speakers of languages of lesser diffusion are still quite limited in the EU, especially formal ways of training, etc. So this is also reflected in the modules. That's why the modules focus on making trainers aware of the specificities of training future interpreters in these specific contexts with this specific profile. The 8 modules that we developed focus each on a different topic. You can see that on the right side of the slides. And they include different type of documents or activities that are either ready for use with the trainees, the people being trained, or need to be adapted to specific learning needs or contexts, so information for the trainers themselves. They all follow more or less the same format, so they all include an online manual, and many of the modules also include videos, PowerPoints, additional material, and PDFs. Again, most of these modules are publicly available on the portal, and Eleonora will also show this portal in a couple of minutes. Then the 4th project outcome, which is, as I've already told you, is still ongoing. So our training partners are currently very busy with the last phase of the project, the training and the qualification of 60 interpreters, specifically for LLDs. And this is done in 3 different countries, so our partner countries, Belgium, France, and Greece. This project phase is now ongoing as we speak, but of course the initial preparations started a while ago. So the first step was to select languages of lesser diffusion, and then set the entrance criteria, then followed a recruitment phase. What we did then was what the partners did then was an entrance test, and then the actual training could start. After the training, there is an internship phase where trained interpreters take up assignments in what we still consider as a very safe learning environment.
The goal is, and that is scheduled in the coming weeks and months, the goal is that all the trained interpreters participate in the standard test, and that is what we are preparing now. Okay, let's have a look now at some of the examples, or maybe let's have a look at how some of our partners have implemented and addressed these trainings, because of course all of these steps that I've been mentioning, how to adapt the material, how to implement the training, how to conduct the internship, all of this has been implemented slightly differently in each of the 3 participating countries. A first example here in France, the way they have adapted all the trainer materials, so the 8 modules that have been developed in the project. What we see here is the way they have adapted it for French-speaking audience in this case. We also see that France decided to unpack all this material and the adapted material using a SharePoint in order to be able to share all these documents with their trainees in France. Another, this is the resources section of the French SharePoint environment, where you can see how from the trainer materials, they developed all this material in a training program subdivided in 6 main topics, and each time there is a corresponding test for each topic, which you can see on the left side of the slide, right side of the slide. Then this is, for instance, for the topic on ethics, we see here left the materials, and then on the right side the corresponding test on this particular topic. And the trainer modules, as we've seen now in the example for France, the trainer modules have been implemented, have been unpacked differently in the 3 countries, but also the trainings themselves have been organized slightly different across the 3 participating countries. So here we see an example from Flanders, Belgium, where some of the classes were organized online, some of them were organized on site, still others, as you can see here in this picture, were offered in a hybrid format. This, for instance, is an example from France where one of the 2 training groups that were organized was fully online. Of course, for reasons of feasibility, for instance, the trainees living in remote reception centers or being located remotely. So that decision was taken for France to work fully online for one group. And then another example from our partners in Greece. Previously, we've seen examples on the training. Here in Greece, an example of the internship phase, during which trainees, as I've said before, take up assignments in rather safe learning environments. So I will give now the floor to Eleonora, who will be guiding us through the EU-WEBPSI portal.
Thank you, Julie. And thank you, Katrijn, as well for all that you explained so far. I hope that you're finding this interesting, and we will now move on to the technological side of the project. Yeah, I see thumbs up, so that's great. So this is what we call the PSI portal. I will show where to find the materials that were shown so far, and I'll try to make you understand the importance of the portal for the rest of the project. This is the homepage where you can find the main components, which are the learning materials, the interpreter's register, and the portal itself, which is to say the booking tool and the video tool. In fact, the portal is not only meant to provide a space for all the project results that we just presented, but is also meant as a space to facilitate the exchange of video interpreters across the EU as a solution for the lack of qualified LD interpreters, what Katrijn was discussing earlier. This is the URL, if you don't know it already, and I encourage you to note it down and reach the website yourself, explore it, have a look. We'll ask your feedback later, so please do so. And I will now show you the live website and its component, and then afterwards we will have time for questions. So please bear with me as I switch screens. Just a second. All right, so this is our portal. I'll dive right into what you can find there. So first of all, learn more about it. This is a brief presentation of the portal, which of course you won't need after this webinar. And then I'll move, I won't spend too much time here, and I'll move right onto the learning materials environment. This page gives you a brief overview of the materials. To access them, you simply click here, insert your email address, click the checkbox, and then you will receive the link in your inbox. You just need to click on the link in your email or copy paste it. And then as you click, just a second, it's a bit of a complicated management between different screens to show you different size of the website. So once you click on the link you receive, you get to this page. So here, this is an overview of the 8 modules, also including module 0, which provides an introduction to the trainer materials and explains you how to use it. You just click here on download and the downloads starts. This is a PDF document. And then by going to the end of the page, you can also download the minimal standards that we developed and the baseline study. You just, again, click here and the download will start. Then to access each module, you simply click on the title, and then you get to the specific module. Each module includes a brief description of what it is about, explains what it includes, which topics are covered, and then you can download the materials. Again, click and the download will start, or check the videos that are included. Then we can move on to another component, which is the interpreter's register. This is meant to showcase the availability of languages and interpreters on the portal. It is, of course, now ongoing test. So what you see here is just test cards for interpreters. You can search interpreters by languages or by country. Whether you have access to the booking tool or not, this page can help you see whether the WEBPSI portal can help you meet the interpreting needs if you are a public service provider. These cards, as you can see, are anonymous. You can only see the username, the user number of the interpreter, and this was decided to preserve the anonymity of the interpreters. And now I will show you what the booking tool and the video tool look like. So just bear with me as I switch screens again. Second, and just a second as I adjust my settings. Okay, so here I'm going to quickly go into the portal. This is a video of how the booking tool works. From the dashboard, this is a view from the public service provider who requests an interpreting service, needs to fill in a form with some mandatory fields, like internal reference, the languages that are involved, the estimated duration of the meeting, the date and time of the meeting. And then there are some optional criteria like the gender and the country residence of the interpreter and the description of what the meeting would be about. So once this is created, it can be sent to one specific interpreter or to all the matching ones. And then the PSI provider receives this request and then can send it to, chooses if to send it to one of their interpreters or not. They open the request, check the information that was sent by the public service provider, sees which dates were created, and then decides if to send it to one matching interpreter or to one specific. It can also ignore the request if they don't want to accept this job. And then the interpreter receives the request on his email, on this dashboard, opens it, also checks the information that was sent, checks which organizations send this, the date and time, and then can decline the request or accept it. So by accepting it, the request is set to waiting for confirmation, and now it's the turn of the public service provider again to just confirm this, again, to confirm the terms of service. This is just showing you that at every step, it's possible for the organizations to get in touch with each other. So this is the public service provider again. They see the request is now saying waiting for confirmation. And this is where they need to act. So they open it. They check again the information. They see which public service provider has answered their request, which interpreter. They can decide to contact this organization to ask for more information. And then they can confirm the request or still cancel it. Once it's confirmed, they have to accept the terms of service. And then the status of the request is confirmed and an appointment is created. From the appointment, it is then possible to start the meeting. It is still possible to cancel as well, to contact the organization that has accepted the request. Still possible to cancel, and then by clicking on the meeting link, the video will start. So this is how the video tool looks. This is open directly in the browser, so you don't need to download anything, but it is created with Zoom, so it's also not something that people will be unfamiliar with. You can chat with other participants, you can share your screen, you can check the settings of your camera or microphone and other technical details also that are probably useful for troubleshooting. And you can also switch to a gallery view if you are meeting with more than 2 people. It's useful. You can exit the meeting temporarily and join again with the red button. And then you can also end the meeting for all by clicking Finish Meeting. And once this is done, this completes the meeting and completes the booking cycle. So now this is what the booking tool was. And I'm sure that you will have a lot of questions. So maybe this is the moment where we give you the floor and see what you want to share with us. Any feedback, any question, anything that was unclear?
Maybe I can start with a question that was raised in the chat.
Do it.
Because someone said I cannot download the documents on the portal, the learning materials. So I explained that the initial request needs to be done once. And it's an automatic, you receive an email which grants them access to the learning materials, but it needs to be done once.
Yes, once you receive the link in your email, then it's available. But maybe Professor Amato, maybe if you want to write to us, and I can explain you a bit more how to download this. But it is possible to download the materials also if you are not a project partner.
Yes.
Maybe something to explain, because some annexes maybe are not available in a couple of modules, module 1 and module 7, mm-hmm. because those modules contain information about how to set up an assessment, an entry assessment, and how to set up a certification test. And they contain also information about evaluation grid. So for the moment, they are being tested, and we also the idea is also that they shouldn't be accessible to trainees. So for the moment, it's only project partners that have access to the portal. After the project, ENPSIT will take over the management of the website, and based on our findings during the project and the feedback that we receive, then we will also further assess how to expand the user base. And then, of course, it will be possible also to access the materials in their entirety.
Thanks a lot.
I see Lieven nodding.
That explains it. Thank you very much.
Okay, no problem. Again, if you want to write me, and I'll be happy to help you.
There's one hand raised.
I see. Please.
Michaela.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah. Hi. Thanks very much. It sounds very interesting indeed. I was just wondering, who are the service providers who can be part of this and who can then accept potential assignments for their interpreters?
You want to go ahead. But for the moment, we are just testing the portal with the project partners. So we will also test this between the public service providers that are in France, Belgium, and Greece. So ISM Quorum in France, AGI, the Flemish Agency for Integration in Belgium, and Metadrasi in Greece. And then the three corresponding reception agencies. So Fedazil in Belgium, Entrepreneur Valdo in France, and then Metadrasi also in Greece. So during the project, they will test the portal and test the functionality and especially the booking once the training is finished. And then, as I said, with ENPSIT, based on the feedback on the testing, we'll need to see how to further expand the user base and how to open up the use of the portal to more providers.
Yeah, no, I mean, I saw the partners who are there and who are doing it at the moment. I got this, and this is exactly the question. Looking into the future, who will be able to be part of it? Because obviously there are commercial providers of video interpreting services in the community interpreting section, and they have built up extensive platforms. They live on it, and they are expanding. So I don't know if this is meant to be a free service. I think there might be some conflict there.
Yes, Michaela, thank you for sharing these concerns. Not all of these questions can be answered right now, but maybe there is one important element that should not be overlooked. It's that we specifically aim to cater a specific demand, namely the languages of lesser diffusion. So by no means do we expect to be in competition with other, but because precisely we think that the mismatch between the demand and the offer makes it necessary to work across boundaries and to work also from, not only our own regional or national languages, but be able to work in service provision in English, so from English to an LLD. And so in that way, maybe the mismatch between demand and offer would be less urgent. So we by no means want to expand this platform for everyone and each language combination, but only addressing this specific need that exists and that is not being dealt with sufficiently by commercial or public service interpreters on a regional level. So that is maybe one element that needs to be added. And of course, you as an ENPSIT member, and the goal that has been our aim from the beginning when we were writing the project, when we discussed it in ENPSIT also, the aim is that ENPSIT could take over, because once the project funding is finished, it would be, it's always a pity that there is no continuity. So the specific modalities of who will be who will be controlling who is on this platform, in what ways will access be granted to which kind of public service providers, but interpreters, providers, sorry, but also users. That is still to be discussed within the ENPSIT board. So you will definitely be informed on this.
Yeah, with the focus on languages of lesser diffusions, it makes a lot of sense for the time being. And as you say, the future needs to be discussed within the ENPSIT framework. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, I'll switch the camera on. Okay. Thank you very much for sharing this huge project. And, being Italy one of the destination countries of migration, we're very much interested. But I was wondering whether by going through the setup that you have, you can connect to the video interpreter through the browser. Have you thought about confidentiality and security of data and so on? Because, for instance, in Italy, they're very strict about that. I mean, I'm not sure they would use a video interpreter unless they have a closed system that no one can access, and the data is not, what they talk about doesn't go on a browser, doesn't go through a public browser. So that would be a problem, in Italy.
Yeah. This is, of course,
now they get equipped for that, which is not obvious.
Yeah, of course, this is an initial project. This is a test. The idea is that it is as secure as it can, but of course, depending on the setting, yeah, it might not be ideal. This was also raised by one of our great partners about some specific conversations about asylum, which might not. It could not happen here as an example. So this is something that we'll need to further explore, and for the moment, our technical means are not so limited, but still limited from the project. And maybe this is a point that we need to take for the future, and we need to assess this thoroughly to make sure that it is indeed as possible to adopt it in as many contexts as possible. So thank you for raising this point. I see that other people are sharing this in the chat.
The concern. Yeah, and also
could I
add, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just I'd like to follow up on that because, of course, these are concerns, these are real concerns, but within the framework of this project, I don't think it was possible to work with something custom made, because that would have to be the solution probably, as long as you're working with commercially available and commercially developed software. This is what you're going to get, I'm afraid. But working with something which is completely not off the shelf but custom made would be hugely expensive, and would also probably, especially when you're launching something like this, it would also provide an additional threshold, because people would first need to be able to get hold of that software, for instance, which would probably also incur a certain expense, which would be higher than simply getting a Zoom license, or you don't even need a Zoom license to be a participant in a Zoom meeting, and so on and so forth. So I think in order to get this off the ground, there is no real alternative than this. But I would say that as this develops from a project into a real service, as it were, we will need to continuously measure the temperature among the community of users as well as the potential community of users. Why are people using it? Why aren't they using it? Perhaps certain providers will make a distinction between certain contexts in which they believe that confidentiality is of the utmost importance, and therefore they will not be using it, whereas in other contexts they will be using it simply because the stakes are not all that high. These are things for us to find out. Again, there will also be differences between different kinds of public service providers, between different countries, between different regions within countries, even, as we have already found out. Well, we all know about all sorts of differences that exist, but institutional frameworks are completely different across Europe. Legislative frameworks are different and are also constantly evolving. They're also trying to adapt to changing realities, including the inclusion of video-mediated interpreting, where this was considered unthinkable in certain contexts before COVID, for instance. Now we're seeing that quite a few institutions have started to warm up to that and have started to change their rules as well. So all of this will have to be taken on board as this develops further. But I think all of the input that you can give in terms of possible contingencies will be most helpful to prepare for this future. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's also one of the reasons why for the pilot or the testing phase, we mainly focus on reception settings, not to discuss very sensitive or complex issues, but sometimes very practical things for which language assistance is really important. This is what we've noticed also in our data, but hard to find. But when it comes to, for example, asylum interviews at the immigration office, this portal cannot be used. And as Lieven said, maybe something to be developed in the future, because several authorities are considering the use of video interpreting and even video-mediated interviewing, which is much more complex. So we consider it as a pilot, as a test. And indeed, all your feedback, all your comments, all your concerns are really welcome and very valuable to us.
Yes, there's also a question in the chat by Patricia Huddleston. What will be the estimated cost of the interpreter service?
That's a good question. Yes. And it's something that it's a very tricky one, something we've had meetings about. And to be honest, we're still meetings, amongst ourselves. But we don't have an answer yet. There are many parameters to be taken into account. We've launched a survey to get more information about this, to end up the possibility of a unified rate, how difficult or probably impossible that would be. These are the things that still need to be discussed also. We still have a few months left in the project, and this will be one of the issues that will require our attention.
And of course,
probably Lieven wants to add something. Yeah. This is something we've discussed. Go ahead, Lieven.
Well, there is a difference between, because the question is about the interpreter service, but there's a distinction there to be made between the expense of the interpreting. In other words, you need to pay the interpreter for their services, and the cost of accessing the platform and making use of the platform. These are two completely different things, because our idea, at least, is that we will not intervene in any payments between the different interactants as such, because precisely what I've been saying earlier, namely the fact that you have different regulations, rules, tariff plans, etc., across Europe. So it's simply impossible for us to intervene in that. I'm sure that quite a few institutions have fixed rates, for instance, that cannot be negotiated in any possible way, and therefore need to be followed. Otherwise, payments can't be processed. Something else is, will we, for instance, as ENPSIT, charge some kind of a cost for the use of the platform by organizations, not necessarily by the interpreters, but by organizations like public service providers or not. That's a question mark because it, and of course this is related to the expense that will be involved in keeping this platform running. If the expense is minimal, then obviously we will not need to charge anything, or not a substantial amount at least. If the amount that we need to pay up, then obviously we will need to find ways of funding this, and one way could be charging organizations that make use of the platform for that, but there might be other ways of doing that as well. Of course, we don't have any commercial interest at all, and this is this project was publicly funded, but that's to do with the development of everything, which is not necessarily to do with the maintenance of the platform after it's been made available. So lots to be fleshed out in that respect. And again, if you have any thoughts on that, feel free to share them with us. Carmen Valero is dreaming, apparently. Wouldn't it be useful to have a platform like this, at least at national level, supported by the government, national budget or health minister, for example? Well, we're trying to do better. We're trying to have a platform like this at an EU level, but that does not necessarily mean that its provision will be funded by the EU, but that's the dream that I have then, perhaps. Someday. Who knows?
Let's start lobbying.
Any further questions, thoughts, ideas? Or is everyone simply browsing the portal right now?
Maybe if you don't have further questions in the meantime, or while you think about them, I wanted to maybe just no, sorry, no, I have it. Okay. So as we said before, please have a look at the portal, at the parts that you can look into, of course, but also keep in mind the video we've shown you about the booking tool. And I will maybe add, we will add survey link to the chat now. And it would be great if you could follow it and then just let us know what you think about it.
It's the same as the one.
Yeah, it's that one, yes. Thank you, Julie. Oh. Julie's going to share it now in the chat.
It's already
It would be really great to have your opinion, and we will further share this as well. But as you just saw the webinar and have a fresh mind about this, and I'm sure that it will be very valuable to have your opinions. And then I'm unable to make this bigger. Okay. Maybe I can okay. Is it fine?
Yeah.
Just a second. We are having some technical issues.
Is this thing? Ah, yeah.
Okay.
I'm there. Okay, sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Yes. There you go. So the chat, the survey link is in the chat now. So please have a look and let us know what you think about all of this. And then second communication is that we will host the final symposium about the portal. So online, for the moment, the date set is the 19th of June 2000 this year in the afternoon. So please note it down in your agenda. We will communicate further about this. This is it.
Yes, so thank you very much also to the project partners that are present.
Yes.
Thank you for being here and the broader audience. Thank you for also your insightful comments and questions. And we'd really like you to have a look at the survey, because this is also something that gives us a good feedback on things to change or things to consider, etc. So many thanks for that also.
And if I may add something about the symposium, we will try here to also present a bit further the results from the training, which will have been concluded by then, and from also your opinions about the portal, and we will share the survey also wider, and then see if we have also answers to the questions you're asking about the future of the portal as well. So we look forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Eleonora, Julie, Katrijn, for this excellent presentation. And it's a showcase of work in progress, but work that has already progressed quite far, I believe. And the symposium is really something to look forward to see probably the pre-final results of things, and indeed discuss the future. Thank you very much for allowing us to witness this wonderful project here today as well. The recording will be made available through our website as usual, and our social media channels, newsletter, and so on and so forth. By the way, if you have any suggestions for new themes for our webinar, just drop me a line, and we can discuss this. We're always interested in getting new angles on PSIT. Thank you very much for now. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and look forward to seeing you again at some event in the near future. Bye-bye.
Bye.